Something a little different on the channel today. The people from Blackview reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to take a look at the Oscal C80? And anything different and budget is certainly something that I enjoy covering here on Steve Licious Tech. So I said, sure, send it along. And there's not a paid review. I don't even have an affiliate link. I have a link with a discount code, but none of that money comes back to me. So it's just me reviewing this unit here. The big story and the headline here is $159. And if you use the link and the product code that I have in the description, it takes 20 bucks off. So $139 for what you're going to see here. Now, don't expect the world, okay? There are compromises to get to that price point. But I actually kind of like the choices that they made here. Let's take a look at the design. Really nice. It's got this iridescent white on the back here. They call it Early Sunny Snow, and it looks like really sharp. I think it's a really great design. Plastic frame, but it's colored nicely and it feels good. No issues there. You're going to have the SIM card tray here on the left-hand side, and that's going to that's a dual SIM, but it also functions as your micro SD card slot. On the right-hand side, volume up and down rocker, and then you got your power button that also doubles as the fingerprint sensor, which works. It works quite well. It also has face unlock, which is surprisingly snappy on a device like this. I had no problems with that. In fact, that was the majority of what I used to unlock the device. Headphone jack, you're going to want it because the speaker's not great. Okay, you got the mono speaker on the bottom here, easy to cover, not the greatest sound, so you're going to want that headphone jack, so it's there if you need it, and USB-C charging on the bottom of the device. The other headline is the display. 90 hertz display, 720p, okay? So not the sharpest display in the world, but it is 90 hertz. And the good thing, and I've talked about this a lot on this channel, it doesn't matter if it's 90 hertz or not, it's can the processor, which is something I've never heard of, a Unisoc processor, can the processor actually push the display resolution at 90 hertz? And the answer is yes. For basic stuff, going through the UI, it's plenty smooth. Pull up Twitter here, see if we can get it loaded up, and then go from there. But yeah, the experience wasn't bad. Wasn't bad at all. I really like it. It ran Twitter, decently well. It got in and out of apps. Ran Instagram just fine. The daily tasks that you'd be expecting here, it had no problem handling. And I really liked it. Yeah, I was surprised by it. The display is 90 hertz yet. Not the most color accurate thing in the world. It's an LCD. Not I would say maybe 72 to 75% color accurate. So don't expect to be seeing things the way they are on this display. Not the brightest thing in the world either. So 720p, a little on the dim side, but 90 hertz, and it works. It works. It's 90 hertz that actually works. So that dovetails into performance. The other headliner here, 8 gigs of RAM. Legitimately 8 gigs of RAM, and maybe that goes towards the smoothness of the device and how it's able to handle it, is maybe to keep more apps cached, keep more of the system UI cached. But 8 gigabytes on a budget device, especially one costing $139, was really impressive. And I had no problems with that. And that's why I think that this is absolutely worth it at that price range. More RAM on budget devices is always better. Because when you have a low performing or kind of entry level processor, nothing is going to bog it down more than having to have aggressive RAM management where stuff is opening and closing and apps in the background are crashing out because there's just no RAM and they got to be cleared out for other apps. So to have a lot of stuff in RAM, to be able to function and kind of move through your different apps, you're going to get a lot smoother experience than a similarly priced device or even maybe more expensive device with 4 or 6 gigs of RAM because it's able to keep that much more in memory. So day-to-day tasks on here are going to be okay. It's mostly, we'll talk about the software, it's kind of stock. They've got some skinning on here that they've done, kind of reminiscent of One UI 5.1. It's running Android 12. It's Doki 3.0, which is Blackview's distribution of Android. Doki 3.0, which I haven't minded it, actually. I kind of like, you see these pastel icons? That's kind of the aesthetic of it. Works well. I like the notification shade. I like the aesthetic. Like I said, it's kind of borrowing from Samsung's One UI 5.1, but I like that. It's clean. Lots of options here. Dark screen, night light, screencast, hotspot. You're going to want to keep this on T-Mobile, of course, something like that. T-Mobile or an activated Verizon SIM. AT&T will have a heart attack if you try to put this on in the United States. But lots of good options here. Nearby share. It has Android Auto, which we could go in here and take a look at when we go into the settings, if I could find it. Pretty robust settings list. You got Android Auto if that's something that you use. So pretty decent settings list. It's running a security patch from January 2023. Like I said, Android 12. As far as updates are concerned, I don't know. It's like a lot of the budget devices where you really don't know what you're getting in terms of security update. Bloatware wasn't bad. 5 or 6 games, that's going to be the standard when you're under sub $200 because that's how they subsidize the price of a lot of these devices. It took me 5 minutes to delete them. I actually wound up keeping one. It was a kitten game here, Kitty Blast or something like that. I wound up keeping on here. But it's easy to get rid of, and then it doesn't bother you. I've had a lot harder time recently. I'm reviewing the Moto G Play 5G for Android Police, and getting the bloatware off of there and all the security things and whatever, it was a nightmare. This took about 5 minutes, and then you were set to go if you didn't want that. Other downside is going to be the camera. It's not, I'm going to put up a shot here, but it is not. Those are orange little stuffed animals that I'm looking at here. Okay, they're not pink. So it'll physically take the form in of what you're seeing, but don't be confused by the 50 megapixels. It's not a quality camera, and it's not something that I use to really go ahead and take a lot of images. But that's the trade-off, right? That's what you get. At $139, there has to be, like when we talk about the Pixel 6a, there has to be some sort of compromises, and there have to be things that they choose to prioritize over other things. The camera, the screen brightness, those are things that they didn't really prioritize. What they did prioritize, 90 hertz display, 8 gigs of RAM. And that really, really, really gives you a performance that punches well above what you'd expect in the $139 price range. $139, I expect 4 gigs of RAM. I expect it to barely be able to function and handle my day-to-day tasks. Maybe sometimes they prioritize the camera a little bit, where it's a little bit better. Moto does that a lot, but this one does not. Blackview Oscal, they said, you know what? We're going to give you the performance. We're going to give you a smooth display, and that's what we're going to go to war with at the $139 price tag. And I kind of like those. I like those compromises. I want the day-to-day performance that I get out of this, as opposed to, some fancy camera settings that aren't going to be that good anyway, and just kind of up the price for without the additional performance. Slight gaming's okay. Pokemon Go you could get away with. Candy Crush type games you can get away with. Streaming, if you can handle the display being not the most color accurate thing in the world, you could watch YouTube videos. Spotify, it's going to handle that. It's got the standard Google messaging default here, so you can have your Google apps without any issue. Like I said, the fingerprint sensor is good. Face unlock is good. Snappy. The face unlock is really impressive. I was overall impressed. And the other great thing is, not the fastest charge in the world. Okay, 18 watt charging. We'll say fast charging. Charger comes in the box. Also comes with a case in the box. Nice little gel skin case here. You can throw it on here, so it's kind of a one-stop shop. Battery life as well, impressive, because you're not running the highest resolution display in the world at 720p. You're not running the fastest processor in the world. I was able to get 8 hours of screen on time, so and with very little network drain, very little standby drain. This thing was able to hang on for days at a time, only losing a few percentage points, and most of that's going to be 5G, 5G LTE. 4G LTE, not being a 5G phone, is seriously going to help this. So you got a lot of positives. Micro SD, 90 hertz display, 8 gigs of RAM, great battery life. So if you're looking for something that's a backup phone, something like that, maybe you're getting a kid a first phone or something like that, and you have T-Mobile, $139, really hard to go wrong. Really hard to go wrong. If camera's not a priority for you, but performance and battery life at a budget price point is, take a look at the C80 and save some money. Use my code in the description. Save yourself that $20. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious.